So welcome to the Loft Labs YouTube channel. Today I have a question for you. Whenever you think about consistency, governance, security across all of your cluster, how do you do that? You can comment it below, but the simple answer is you bring in a policy agent. Today's video is something interesting. We go around having a policy agent, OPA, which is a CNCF certified project, and use it to enforce policies across all of your clusters. Because creating policies across every cluster is hard, and whenever you think about a lot of clusters and think about saving costs, think about saving and going in a multi-tenant architecture, you can always rely on vCluster. Go and create a lot of virtual clusters so that each of your team can consume one of those, and then the goal is to use OPA to enforce policy in the host cluster, so all of your virtual clusters will respect that. We will use 2-3 examples in the demo, but first things first, you should have a Kubernetes cluster with you. So we'll in this demo use a Minikube cluster. So let's get started. If you can go and click on Minikube start, it will start a cluster. It will take some time, so give it that. It will pull the images, it will create Docker containers, and then it will run and use the keys and everything to spin up the control plane. Once done with it, we need to install Gatekeeper on our host cluster. So what you need to do is, you can go to the Open Policy Agent website, and then you can go and click on installation. First task is to have RBAC permissions. The way to do RBAC permission is you need to go and run this command, and before you run this command you have to do one thing: get the user over here. You need to go and run the command to add the user. So you can just go and click on export user, and then go and click on use the RBAC permissions. So once we add the RBAC permissions, we can do other steps. You can just do it using this simple command. It is as simple as this. So you just copy it and paste it on your cluster, and it will deploy a lot of things right now. See, it creates a new namespace right now called Gatekeeper system, and you will see a lot of pods, a lot of secret services over there. We'll just go and investigate what is running inside. Let's see the pods over there, and we can start watching. As we see, the containers are being created, so let's watch and see how long it takes. One is running, the second one is running, 2 more are pending, so let's wait for that. So one of them has errors, but now the error is gone because it's self-healing, and mostly if you see, all of them are running. Once all of this is done, we will go to the Gatekeeper library. It's a simple collection of a lot of general policies, and for example, we will choose a node port policy template. So in summary, what this policy does is it disallows all the services using the node port service, because using a node port is not secure for your services and all those things. We will go and apply this template at first, because the template will create a KTS block node port, which we can use it as the controller policy enforcement to block all those. First step is to go and apply the template, the constraint template. Let's go and find it, and you can always use kubectl apply -f and the link, or you can clone this on your local machine and use that as a directory as well, but I find this a simple approach to be more simpler. So we will apply that, and once that is created, we will go back to the same folder and go to samples and apply the constraint. The constraint template defines how your constraint will be applicable, and constraint is the actual policy. So we will again get the raw version of it and apply it. kubectl apply -f, and we will go and apply this. Now if you see, your policy has been there and your constraint is there as well. If we use the example which is given over here and use the service of node port, it won't work. If you want to get an example, it is as simple as kubectl apply -f and use this link. And as you see, the validation request has been blocked from Gatekeeper, and it won't be allowing it to create the type node port. So this is on your host cluster, but what if you have a virtual cluster as well for each of your team which you want to enforce this? It's very simple. You just go and create virtual clusters for each of your team, and you can give the kube config for those virtual clusters to each of your team. And whenever your team members using that virtual cluster come up and try to use the commands which doesn't respect the policies, it will fail. To see that, we will just wait for this new cluster to come up, and it is just initializing the ports. Let's wait for a couple of seconds. So now we see we have started our background proxy container, and with the background proxy container, what we do is we create a way for you to access your API server with the kube config. Inject a kube config to your local manifest, or you can use it. We will go and open a new terminal so that we can talk with our new virtual cluster. In production setting, you can share the kube config with exposed endpoint, maybe using a load balance or an ingress service to any team you want, so they can independently use this virtual cluster. Now if we see and create the new terminal so that we can talk with your virtual cluster, and if we see the new context, it is Minikube, but right now as we change the connection handling, it has changed the vCluster test Minikube cluster, so it's the new virtual cluster we have. We see kubectl get nodes, it's a new cluster that is running. And if you want to apply something over here, like for example the same manifest, it will fail with the same problem because your virtual cluster is respecting your host cluster's policies. So we can do another example as well. So for example, let's see what options do we have in the library. And we have options like disallow tags. We'll go same and apply the template. Let's go back to the host cluster, and now we will apply the same template for disallowing tags like the latest tag and all those tags, and we will apply the template even and the constraint. So let's apply that. Now both of them are applied. So now if we want to go and run a simple Nginx container, for example with the latest tag, it will fail. But suppose if you want to run it with a specified tag, it will be created. Now let's go to the virtual cluster and test the same thing out. So if we go to the virtual cluster and go to vCluster test and do the same thing, it will pass, but again if you try to use the latest tag, it will fail. So if you see, the virtual cluster is respecting both of the policies from your host cluster, and it can scale indefinitely to respect your policies. Apart from that, if you want to sync your ingress controller resources and all those things, that is possible as well. So thank you so much for looking at this video, and if you have any questions, don't forget to join us on Slack, as well as comment your questions below. Thanks again, and don't forget to subscribe before you go.